All right, well, the game is over. Florida gets absolutely clobbered by Miami. I think Miami scored another touchdown before because I turned the game off once it got to final 2 minutes of the final four. Okay, so no, it was just 41-17. It was the same score as before. I figured they would have added another touchdown, which I couldn't really blame them. Florida got manhandled and bulldozed at every facet of the game, offense, defense. Um, the pass rush for Florida. The offensive line is still terrible, um, especially on the right side. You know, Billy Napier, his play calling, short, quick passes, no connection with how the games are going, not in tune with how the pace of the game is going. The secondary, apparently it does not matter if it's Corey Raymond or Will Harris coaching the secondary because they just got absolutely butchered in every facet of the game. Right now, I'm looking at Old Dominion versus South Carolina. Right now, Southern Mississippi on SEC Network, Southern Mississippi versus Kentucky is in a rain delay, and they were supposed to come on right after the South Carolina game, but they're in a rain delay, so it's Gamecocks versus Old Dominion, whatever their last name is. So I'm looking at that right now. At least the good news for the Gators is that while they maybe had the worst performance, you can argue they didn't lose to the worst team of the day because earlier today Virginia Tech lost to Vanderbilt, and South Carolina, if they lose to Old Dominion, they would have lost to a non-Power 5 school. So at least Florida can say they lost to a top 25 team and a Power 5 school. But embarrassing performance. This is, to me, is the worst loss of Billy Napier's career. Um, Worse than Vanderbilt, worse than Arkansas, worse than um, Florida State at the end of the game, at the end of the year. Just absolutely embarrassed. You know, this isn't even like in the Florida State where you had backup quarterbacks or anything like that. You had every single player that you were pointing, that you were advertising and boosting and just hyping up before the game, and barely any of those guys had a factor. I mean, shout out to Shamar James for getting Florida's first interception. Shout out to Chimere DK for the way he played on special teams. Shout out to Montre John for the touchdown he had, and Jake Slaughter for opening it up. But Florida was just an embarrassment at 80 stretch of the game. Outside of the Montre Johnson run and the touchdown drive that DJ Lagway had when Miami was playing soft defense and they were just backing up and letting guys catch in front of them so the clock can run up, there was just nothing to be pleased with at all at any facet of the game. I feel bad for the fan base because the Florida Gator fans absolutely showed out, and they are absolutely, Miami was just a better team, plain blank simple, better team, better athletes, better coaches. They were better coached. They recruited better. They've acquired players better. They did a good job of addressing needs, while Florida has done a horrible job of addressing needs that have been plaguing the team for years. Outside of maybe special teams, everything looked exactly the same. Well, maybe Florida's tackling was a little bit better. They didn't really miss as many tackles as they would have last year, but everything about Florida that's been bad for the last several years came back. Outside of tackling and special teams, pass protection bad, run game here hit and miss, quick passing game, no connection on the deep ball, penalties costing the team, you know, safety play, where was it? Receivers were just wide open. That formation or this exotic lineup that built that I guess built Austin Armstrong and Ron Roberts have had, where there's three down linemen and there's just two linebackers lined up all over the place. One inside, one outside, two inside, two outside. It, there's just there's just no. Quite frankly, they try to be fancy. They try to out fancy you. But here's the thing: you may get away with that in the group of five because a talent advantage in the group of five is substantial. But if you're playing in the Power Five in the SEC and you get to ACC opponent that has the amount of time that Miami has, and you just freaking um, you just bottom line is that Florida just could not go toe to toe with Miami. They didn't. I wouldn't necessarily say that they quit. They were just outperformed. And this is why I say Billy Napier and Scott Stricklin should not come back. Scott Stricklin has had. You made two terrible group of five hire. You made two terrible group of five hire. A terrible group of five hire in Billy Napier. You hired Billy Napier, that did not work out. You hired Mike White as the basketball coach, that did not work out. Todd Golden seems to be working out, but you have just allowed your football program to be bad. Now, as the athletic director, I'm not saying you should only focus on the football team, but you know good and well in college football, especially at UF, the college football is the sport that brings you the most money, and you've allowed this program. We're the new Tennessee. Everybody kept saying Florida is the new Tennessee. We are the new Tennessee. When Tennessee went through Derek Dooley and then Butch Jones and then Jeremy Pruitt before they finally found Josh Heupel, that we are the new Tennessee now. Tennessee has surpassed us. Kentucky has surpassed us as a program. Miami has surpassed us as a program. Florida State surpassed us as a program. Florida had a grand opportunity in 2018 when Miami and Florida State were down, and they came up and won a Peach Bowl, and then the next year won an Orange Bowl, and then made the SEC title game the very next year, and they fell off right afterwards. They let their two rivals rise above them in the state of Florida, in Miami and Florida State. They let Kentucky rise above them. They let Tennessee surpass them. Uh, Georgia was already above them, but that gap has widened even further. It's just really disappointing. I mean, for crying out loud, even cross conference wise, one could argue that maybe even Duke has surpassed Florida as a program because un, I mean, we'll see where they go with Manny Diaz, but at the end of the day, Florida is just down bad in so many ways. And Scott Stricklin and Billy Napier should not come back. Billy Napier has killed any possibility he has of maybe having a winning record this season when he chose to stick as the play caller, when he chose to bring back Rob Sale as the offensive coordinator, and the offensive line coach. He killed any chances that he had when by continuously making bad defensive hires. The only good hires he may have made is maybe Tyler Miles as the strength and conditioning coordinator and Joe Houston for special teams. Other than that, he has swung a miss on every assistant hire that he has possibly had. Only thing that I can hope for is that maybe Billy Gonzalez at the wide receiver position comes back for Florida next year. But everything about Florida was just bad today. Everything about this football program is just bad today. Billy Napier should not come back, neither should Scott Strickland, the athletic director. And I know a lot of Florida fans say, well, DJ Lightweight. If DJ Lightweight wants to enter the transfer portal because Billy Napier is not coming back after this season, you know what? Let him. Because you're not winning anything in 2025 anyway. So you might as well just start over completely again and just hope that you can finally get the higher right. Man, it's a shame. Ben Hill Griffin Jr. is rolling in his grave right now watching these Florida Gators. Steve Spurrier is the thank goodness for Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow, because without those guys, Florida would have been historically irrelevant as a college football program. We basically would have been South Carolina, because South Carolina has been irrelevant in college football for the most part. Everything about Florida was just bad. I feel so bad for Graham Mertz getting hurt. I don't know how the hell the officials they missed so many penalties that the Miami team had committed that was right in front of them. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Miami just bullied Florida in every facet of the game. So, well, there is a positive next year is that I know that Billy Napier is not coming back, so that could be an improvement by addition through subtraction that he's not coming back next year. Good guy. He's a classy guy. I'm sure the players deep down root for him on a personal level. I'm sure DJ Lyra roots for him on a personal level. I hate to really talk about coaches like this because these guys have families. Billy Napier has a wife and I believe 3 children. But at the end of the day, you're making millions and millions of dollars of being bad at your job. Majority of Americans wouldn't last 3 weeks if they were being bad at their job. You've gotten 3 years of millions of dollars. I hope that maybe they can lower that buyout for him to move on. I don't see. I mean, he's already well compensated after this year anyway. So Florida's just gonna have to bite that bullet when it comes to that buyout. Yeah, congratulations to the Hurricanes. They actually look like they have a good team this year, or maybe that's just because Florida is so bad. Cam Ward is that guy that Hurricane fans have been saying. And Miami Hurricane fans actually did drain the swamp. This is the most embarrassing loss of Billy Napier's career during his time at Florida. More embarrassing than Vanderbilt, more embarrassing than Arkansas. You can call it recency bias all you want, but knowing the circumstances and the context of what was leading up to this game, um, it's just inexcusable. So I'll talk to y'all in the next one.